And here we go. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4, Episode 30 overall of The Huddle. I'm your host, Ed Tait of BlueBombers.com. We're joined, we're here as always at the Blue Bombers studio here at Princess Auto Stadium. We were supposed to be joined by Chris Kolonkowski as center, but as you find out during training camp, schedules are always fluid, and Chris had meetings all of a sudden when we thought we had a window. And so he's not going to be able to join us. What we thought we'd do, though, we want to keep this thing rolling every Tuesday through the season except for bye weeks. And so we thought we'd open it up for questions. I'd give some thoughts on training camp. We're still going to give away something for fans. It's an autographed Zach Collaros t-shirt, men's large. Can't trade the size, unfortunately. Men's large. Autographed by Zach Collaros. So what we're going to do, we're winging it here. You got to roll with the punches in this business. I'll open up with some thoughts about training camp, what I've seen so far. Bombers play their first preseason game Saturday against the Saskatchewan Roughriders here at Princess Auto Stadium. We've seen a lot of things happen already through the first few days of camp, first week and a bit of camp. A couple of important days coming up before Saturday's game, and then the final preseason game goes the following Friday in Regina. So what I thought we would do, we're not going to have a Coors Light chill chat because there's no guests sitting right here for us to open and have fun with. Still like to thank Coors Light and Duron Equipment as our title sponsors for the show. But what we're going to do is I'll open up here and I'll rattle off some thoughts about each position group so far, what we've seen. And then after that, we'd like you to join in and interact with us and give us some questions, some thoughts you might have as we get closer to the real games. Again, first preseason game on Saturday, so a chance for fans to really get involved here and ask some questions. I know you do every week, but this week it'll just be me and producer Josh winging it here as we try to, again, roll with the punches without Chris Kolonkowski ever able to join us. So, okay.
And just so you know, you're not talking to an empty room. People want to see the Ed Tait show. We already got people hanging out. Okay. There's already questions rolling.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. Okay, so, again, I thought we'd just do this the easy way, and I'll grab my depth chart here, and we'll roll through each position group, and I'll give a little synopsis of what I've seen, and then again we'll open it up for fans to have their say. So the quarterback position, look, it's pretty clear. It's Zach Collaros' job. That the other two veterans or other two quarterbacks in camp are Terry Wilson and Chris Streller, and then there is a rookie, Chase Artopius from Tennessee, Chattanooga. The big story here, a couple big stories. Shea Patterson got released, just a few days into training camp. Jake Dolegala, who was here last year, got released before camp. And then this becomes an interesting position because Zach Collaros is suspended in week 1 with that bogus suspension for not answering his phone and missing a drug testing test. Don't let me go off on a rant on that because I could go crazy. So this becomes a little bit important because over the preseason, we're going to see which of the other two vets, Chris Streller or Terry Wilson, might pop out to earn that start in week 1, which is going to be really important because it's against a West Division opponent too with the BC Lions in town. That won't be until week 2 of the regular season because the Bombers have a bye in week 1. So whoever shines in the preseason is going to get some extra work in that week leading up to the Bombers' home opener, season opener in week 2 of the season. Running back position, I really don't have to go into a whole lot of detail here. We know it's Brady Oliveira's job. He's taken the last couple days off at training camp. He's been outstanding. I'm interested to see how he gets off to a better start this year. Last year, he came out of camp with a little bit of a knock, and it wasn't 100% at the start, and I think it affected the beginning of his season. So a healthy Brady Oliveira is pretty scary if he can come into the regular season looking sharp. The other guys in camp, Michael Chris Ike, we saw last year. He's more of a fullback type. He's been impressive in his second season. Quentin Cooley, a newcomer, an import. He's flashed too. It's going to be tough for him because this is a Canadian spot, and he's an American. I really like Matthew Peterson, who the Bombers traded for on draft day with Hamilton. He's a Canadian running back out of the University of Alberta. This guy is carved out of stone, and he looks like almost a clone of Brady Oliveira. So this is a guy that could really help himself with a good preseason. Let's move to the receivers group next. Big development in the last couple of days. Dalton Schoen back at practice, and that is massive, 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 massive for this offense. We saw last year after he got hurt in the third game how much of a hole that left in this offense, and he's really not just a security blanket for Zach Collaros, but a deep threat, one of the best receivers in this league. So to have him back and healthy is just huge for this offense. Nick Dembski, Kevin Clarcius are the other starters for sure, both Canadians. And then what is interesting is that all these new receivers that the Bombers brought in the free agent department. Dylan Mitchell from Edmonton, Reggie White Jr. from Montreal, Jarrett Stearns from Saskatchewan, all veteran guys. They've had their moments flashing, and some of them are coming on too, especially Reggie White Jr., I thought in the last couple of days has really come on. These guys are, as much as they're veterans, they're still getting comfortable with this offense, and so it might take a while for them to get used to things, and I think we're starting to see that now. I did a story early on in training camp about Myron Mitchell, a guy who was here last year. He has been really good since day one, and we can't write off guys like him and Cody Case who were here last year and really got a lay of the land and how the CFL works and the waggle. It's so foreign to a lot of these guys, so don't write off some of these second-year guys. Carrick Wheatfall is another guy, had 7 starts last year. So the receiver position is really interesting outside of Dembski, Clarcius, and Dalton Schoen, because all those guys are going to be in the mix to replace Kenny Lawler, and Drew Olatarski is gone too, so it's going to be quite the competition. Preseason is going to tell us an awful lot. Offensive line, look, let's face it here. It's Stanley Bryant's a future Hall of Famer. He's a lock at left tackle. Chris Kolinkowski, who is supposed to be our guest, is the starting center. Pat Neufeld, a couple-time All-Star, is the guard, the right guard. Right tackle was Eric Lofton's job. He's missed about a week, and in that span, Kendall Randolph's been getting a lot of work there, and I like him. He's a guy that's going to push Eric Lofton. The other job that's open is the left guard spot, left vacant by Liam Dobson signing in Hamilton. Gabe Wallace has got a lot of work there. Tuielli's got a lot of work there. I thought Mika Vanterpool would get work there too, but he's been mostly at tackle, so that says to me that this job is still going to be Canadian. The Bombers had toyed with maybe going with 3 Americans up front. I don't know if I see that right now, but we'll get a better picture when the preseason is played. Defensive line, Willie Jefferson, we know is going to be a monster at the one end. What's been really cool is to see already the development of James Vaughters at the other end. You get a veteran piece like that, a guy that is proven commodity at that spot. He's had 5 sacks in each of the last 2 years. I think that might mean that there's less double teams of Willie Jefferson, so that's one to keep an eye on. Jamal Woods, Devin Adams both got time last year as rookie American defensive tackles. They've had really good camps. Then you've got Jake Thomas, Tanner Schmeckel, Colin Cornelson from the Bisons has looked good as the Canadian defensive tackle. And when Cam Lawson comes back from injury, that could be massive for this team because he was on the verge of having a big bust-out season, I thought, last year before he hurt his knee. Okay, I'm going to do this as fast as I can so we can get questions from fans. Let's go to the linebacker spot. Basically 2 spots, right, because the Bombers play a lot of dime. Tony Jones will be the middle linebacker. Kyrie Wilson's getting most of the work in camp at the weak side spot. They did bring in Jonathan Jones, who was with Toronto last year, a veteran guy. I like him too. And Michael Ayers from last year too is another guy that's, these guys deserve reps. So that's an interesting spot, what they do there. And then the dime back, which would normally be the third linebacker spot, that's owned by Reddick Cramdy. What's interesting is that we thought that team had some depth behind him and another Canadian, and Enoch McConzo, who they signed in free agency, a former first-round draft pick. But he got hurt in camp, and it looks pretty serious, so I'm not sure what his future is with this team or if they put him on the long-term injury report or anything like that. So the linebacker spot's kind of set. What I like, too, though, is the newcomers we've seen, the draft picks. Connor Shea, who was in Green Bay Packers and New York Jets rookie minicamp, came into camp here a little bit late, but already looks the part of a first-round draft pick. Jalen Smith, the second-round draft pick, has been solid too. Lane Novak has been a bit of a surprise from the University of Saskatchewan. I know they like him. Those guys could all make the team, so that's really interesting that you could have 3 new Canadian linebackers make your team. and contribute on special teams. Okay, then the last spot, well, 2 spots. Let's talk quickly about the specialist. Sergio Castillo is going to be the place kicker. Jamison Sheehan is the veteran punter. There's another punter in here, a global kid from Indiana that the Bombers drafted, James Evans. He's launched a couple into the stratosphere, but I think we're underrating the importance of Jamison Sheehan because of his directional punting. And he's the only guy in the CFL that didn't punt for a single last year, and that's a really important thing for Mike O'Shea and the special teams groups because they want field position is so important. And when you put one in the end zone, you're giving up all that territory when the ball comes out after giving up the single. The defensive backs. A couple of vacancies here because Terrell Ford left in free agency for Edmonton. Brandon Alexander is here, but as a guest coach right now before he becomes a community ambassador. So there's a couple jobs in the secondary. I would expect that Terrell Bonds is still going to be at one corner spot. Evan Holm and Dietrich Nichols are locks at halfback. So then the question becomes who becomes the safety that might replace Brandon Alexander, and then what about the other corner spot because Terrell Ford has left for Edmonton. This is where camp is interesting. So it started off, Tay Gowan has been in the NFL with a bunch of teams, but was drafted by Arizona, had a real good start to camp. I think some other guys have kind of caught up to him lately. He's still pretty solid, but that's the beauty of training camp. Again, a lot of people take their turns popping off the page. I really like Gowan. Michael Griffin II, who was here last year, he's in the mix for the safety spot, I would say, and so's Jamal Parker Jr., who got hurt last year, but I know the coaches love him because of his intelligence and his versatility. There's some other guys. Marquise Bridges is getting a lot of work as the other starting corner, and again, another guy that was here last year, and we saw a little bit of him, but he's been impressive to start camp. There's some other guys, Trey Vival, I've liked an awful lot. Cam Allen, who I wrote about, he's on the story on him on the website today. Russell Dandy is another one. There was a guy that made a play today. Isaiah Avery made a play that Coach O'Shea yelled out across the field, to give him a lot of love after that play. So we're about 10 days into camp. I just rattle off a gazillion names here. This is why I love preseason, because Saturday some of these guys are going to pop off the page and earn another week, and some of these guys, I'm sorry, as Matt Dunnigan used to say, they're going to get an apple on a bus ticket for their bus ride home. So I guess what we'll do now, Josh, right, is we'll start to open this up for questions to let people jump in. I'll say this. The scouting department's a different scouting department this year with Ted Gavaya and Cyril Penn having gone to Hamilton. There's a new bunch of scouts across the hallway joining Danny McManus and Eric Delorier, Jim Yock, Brock Sunderland. And those guys, it seems to me, have brought in a real good collection of players for the coaching staff to go over. And you can always tell when there's this many names still on the list, and it becomes difficult even to make cuts now that those guys across the hall have done their job finding good talent. So, okay. Let's open it up to some questions. Right. I'm sorry for rattling off there.
Are you kidding? That was awesome. Okay. That is not easy to do. Nice job. That was great. Okay. That was a lot of great information in there. We got tons of great questions.
Okay.
Maybe I should monologue for 10 minutes and let you catch your breath and drink some water or something.
I don't need that much water, but let's go.
All right. First question. Actually, we're going to take a break from the roster already. You just did such a great job. So much information. We got a really, really great question from regular viewer Steen Reimer. He says, let's hear about Ed Tait's road traveled. We want to hear a little bit about where you came from, how you got here, what the journey looked like. So talk to me a little bit about that, Ed. How'd you start out in this business? Did you always know you wanted to be a reporter, or did you start somewhere else, find it later? Just talk to me about that.
Okay, well, this is veering off the...
This isn't even coming from off me. People would love to hear this.
All right.
Talk to me about when you first got interested in sports reporting and how you grew up, and if you always knew you wanted to do it, or if it was a different path.
Yeah, this is... I say this many times... I'm 61 years old now, and I still love my job. I don't want to retire at any time soon. I hope that they're listening to that upstairs. It's been a blast. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a play-by-play guy. My dad has tape of me calling when I was like 8 years old, those little tabletop hockey games, making up play-by-play. I was a decent athlete in high school, and then when I was playing baseball in the Border League, just in southern Manitoba, when I was 19, I could not hit a curveball. I was, and I was probably a liability in the field too. I always joked that you're struggling when it's your turn up at the bat, and there's 2 outs, and you can see your teammates all on the edge of the dugout with their gloves on. They know that you're not getting on base. But I started writing for the town paper then, and I was doing weekly reports on our baseball team, and that's what got me hooked. Went to school at U of M, Red River, and got lucky in my second job placement while I was at Red River was at the Winnipeg Sun, and I got hired right on the spot, didn't have to finish school. 3 years later, I was the Bomber guy, and it's been a blast ever since. So let's make this about the team. I appreciate the question.
Talk about himself anymore, but that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, this is a great job, and I'm happy to do it, and I love doing it. So okay, now about the football team. Let's go.
Anyways, about your childhood.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a great question from a fan by the name of Ernie Waldner, and he says, how does a week 1 bye affect training camp? Is there a difference in preparation when you know you're not playing the first week?
I think that's a good question. I think I can answer this. I'm not going to speak for Coach O'Shea. I don't think a week 1 bye is the same as a bye in week 11 or 12. I believe the team is still going to be out here practicing a lot. I don't know what the rules are with the Players Association, but I think it's different for a week 1 bye. You can't expect these guys to just go away when you've got the rest of the league playing and you haven't even played a game yet. I think it might, in this case, work well for the Bombers because, again, we don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback when they do get around to playing a game. My guess right now is that it's going to be Chris Streller, but Terry Wilson's had a pretty good camp too. But there's a lot of jobs that are still up for grabs, a lot of positions that are still question marks, and I think that extra week practice might actually help this team. It's like an extended training camp in a way leading into week 1. So it feels weird to be talking about a couple weeks from now when in training camp you're only talking about 1 day at a time. But I think it's a good question because I think that the week 1 bye does affect what they do in that bye week.
So next question is from former Blue Bombers team member Riley Mara, and he says, what's Ed's favorite CFL city to travel to?
What's going on here? Well, I've had a few beers with Riley on the road. I would say anywhere that has beer, so that's every road trip, right? I've always liked Vancouver, and I would say Ottawa is a close second. Sam over here and I can tell you there's an outdoor patio we like to go to the night before the game and have a couple of cold ones. So, look, if you told me when I was a kid that I would get paid to do this and go on the road and travel with the team and get to cover it, I would tell you that would have been a dream job. So there's no such thing as a bad road trip in the CFL. I would put it that way.
That's pretty cool. I'll just add a little follow up. Is there like a best press box?
Well, you know what? The best press box for location used to be old Canadiens Winnipeg Stadium. We were right in the 55-yard line. It was unbelievable. The tendency now with the new stadiums is that that is prime real estate, right, for the high rollers. And so the people that pay way more money for the suites get those spots. We're at the 5-yard line here. Still a good location. I would say there's a couple spots. Hamilton and Calgary are way far away from the field, so that's an impact. I would say BC's got a great press box. I like Edmonton's too. Ottawa, Hamilton, yeah, okay. Montreal, you got to climb. I need a medic by the time I finish climbing the stairs to get up to the press box. There's no elevator or anything, and it's a long haul. Yeah, and so there's no bad ones where we're outside in the cold or anything like that. They treat us pretty well in this league.
Nice. Next question. This one's from Instagram. We asked some folks on Instagram to hit us with some questions as well. So I don't have a name, unfortunately, but this one, there are a lot of questions about you. So just this person wants to know, what does game day look like for you? You're always asking the players what game day looks like. Do you have any game day rituals? Any places you go to eat all the time? What does a game day look like to you? What does your work day look like on game day?
Okay, well, the difference between a home game day and a road game day, right? Home game day.
Let's go with a home game day. What does a home game day look like to you?
Well, there's 4 of us here in the content department who play golf. That's where we sneak away and play golf. I'm not afraid to say it. Wade, I'm sorry, but we get out and we play golf. It's kind of our one break for the day, and then we roll right into the office right after that. I'm always on the CGOB pregame show. I was talking to Derek Taylor about that today at practice. They're on at 1 o'clock on Saturday. I'm usually on right from the beginning for about the first 90 minutes or so. And then right after the game, we're scrambling to get our content up, right? I'll write my story as quick as I can. We've got a new segment this year that we're going to try out on Saturday, sponsored by Boyd Auto Body and Glass. It's kind of a post-game hit from the field. We're going to do it away for home games and away games. So it's not a whole lot different from when I was in the newspaper industry, other than for myself. I have to try to turn around the copy as quickly as I can. I don't have the hard deadlines that I used to at the newspaper, so I think I have a little bit more time to massage it and try to make it into English and get more quotes from players in there and more analysis than I would if I was writing on a hard deadline from the newspaper.
Nice, right on. Next question comes from Sebastian Ball over on Instagram, and he says, does Ed have a favorite sports reporter, local, national, etc., whose CFL coverage is can't miss?
I read about just about everything. I give the guys from 3 Down Nation a lot of props. When that site first started, Drew Edwards was the beat reporter at the Hamilton Spectator. He started that. He's turned it over to John Hodge from Winnipeg here, J.C. Abbott from Vancouver, and Justin Dunk from Southern Ontario. And those guys have done a really good job. I think that, what's changed is that the team sites have really stepped up. There's a lot of real good content creators in this league. My buddy Rob Vanstone, who was the columnist at the Regina Leader Post forever, does an outstanding job with the Rough Riders now. Joey Alfieri from the Montreal Alouettes, a former TSN radio guy, does an outstanding job. There's somebody on every team. Mike Hogan with the Argos. Matt Baker and Nick Kowalski from the Lions. Those guys do a good job too. Everybody in this league, it's really changed even since I started working for the Bombers in 2016. I think more teams are investing an awful lot more in content. As far as the beat guys here in town, I have a lot of respect for Paul Friesen, who's a former colleague of mine. I don't always agree with what he writes, but Friesen's very dedicated and does a good job. Jeff Hamilton, of course, he's the current president of the Football Reporters of Canada, and he's an outstanding journalist, so I have a lot of props for him. Josh Frey-Sam from the Freep's been here. Gord, the new guy from the Sun, has been here during camp. I don't know him a whole lot yet, but he does a good job. There's a lot of good guys. Herb Zurkowski in Montreal. I could go on and on. I've been doing this for such a long time. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I think this league is really well covered. What's changed is the idea that you don't have to get your information solely from traditional media, so to speak. It's not just about newspaper, radio, and TV anymore. There's a lot of good bloggers out there, a lot of good podcasts out there that cover this league.
Right on. Next question is from someone else on Instagram, and they say, is there anyone on the team or staff that you really want to get on the huddle for a chat? You got a white whale you've been chasing for a while, trying to get on the show?
The biggest white whale of them all, Mike O'Shea. We've had some great chats that aren't often or seldom about football, and I would love to get him to sit in that chair one day to do a show. I think it would be outstanding. He's a cool dude. I know when people see him only on the snippets when the cameras are rolling after a practice or in one of his media sessions, he can seem pretty serious, but I'd love to get him sitting in there, and maybe we could have a whole show where we don't even talk about football, because he could fill an hour easy.
That would be awesome. I'm looking forward. It's going to happen. We'll get him one of these times. We just got to
keep
find the right
twisting
time.
his arm, yeah.
Yeah, keep asking us every day. Yeah. Hey, Mike, is it time yet? We'll take a quick break from the questions to do the T-shirt giveaway. Eddie, you want to grab that shirt and show the people what's up? So we're giving away this T-shirt. It's signed by Zach Collaros. I don't know if you can get that in the store anymore. It's got the outline of Manitoba. Really cool shirt, autograph from Zach Collaros on it. It's a men's large. Unfortunately, we can't exchange it or change it because it's got the signature on it, but it's a men's large. I'm going to post the link in chat here on YouTube. So go to that link. I'm going to pin it. You got to sign up with your email for one entry and a bonus entry if you subscribe. So that's pinned in chat. So go into the chat, check out that link, drop your email. You could win that shirt. You have to be able to come and pick it up in the Bomber store, and we will reach out to the winner via email as you sign up with that email. Okay, so pick it up in the store. It's a large men's T-shirt with a Zach Collaros autograph right on the front there. So that giveaway will be running for the rest of the show. Make sure you hop in there. We'll revisit. I'll plug it a couple of more times, but we're going to keep rolling through. We still got lots of questions. How's the
Great.
voice doing? You doing all right?
Oh yeah, let's go.
Beauty,
Let's go.
right on. Okay, let's keep plugging along here then. This is from a fan on Instagram as well. Lots of good Instagram questions. This one says, do you have a favorite Bomber player you've interviewed? I mean, I'm sure there's so many and it's tough to pick a favorite, but is there someone that sticks out?
There's tons. Look, one of the cool things about this league is that the players are so accessible. And so, again, there's a guy across the hall, Danny McManus, who, when I started as a rookie reporter, he was a rookie player, and he was kind to me in my first year. I think of that 1990 team, which was my first year, and Chris Walby might be the funniest man on the planet. So I really enjoyed talking to him. Rick House, Troy Westwood, some of the other guys from that, Trevor Kenner, James West, Tyrone Jones, all guys from that team, James Murphy, Rod Hill, outstanding group. In the last little while, Drew Wolotarski was one of my favorites. I made no secret of that, as a guy that just would think outside the box, and the conversations weren't always about football. He's kind of I think he'd call himself an old soul, and that made him fun to talk to. Zach Collaros is a great guy to get to know and to chat with. Again, not always about football. There's a whole bunch of guys on this team that are good interviews, that are funny guys. But I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of guys. Milt Stegall was good. Kahari Jones was good. Charles Roberts was a bit of a tough nut to crack, but man, he was so honest. I appreciated him. The old linemen are always good interviews. There's so many characters over the years. Guys that just, you're interviewing them and you're just laughing like crazy because of the stuff they said. There's so many stories over the years that come to mind instantly. And Doug Brown, I forgot about Doug Brown. He would have been on every year when I was at the Free Press. We used to do a Grey Cup poll that we ran a couple days before the Grey Cup, and we interviewed, or I would poll other media people from across the league, who's going to be the next head coach in this league, from the assistant coaches, et cetera, et cetera. And one of the questions was, who's the best interview in the league? And Doug Brown was almost always at the top of that list, and that's from across the league, not just from the Winnipeg market. So there's been a ton of them.
I got the mic in front of me here, so I'm going to ask a question from my corner. I have the pleasure of picking your brain every single day, and not everyone does. So I want to hear you talk about what your favorite story is. Do you have a favorite story you've ever written, whether it's with your time with the team or whether it was when you were at the paper? Do you have a story you're really proud of? You did some really good reporting or anything. What sticks out in your brain?
Yeah, I got it. Maybe I've been in the sun too much lately. Although there's not a lot of sun in the last few days, my brain's a little fried. One of my favorite stories to do in the research was the Dunnigan 713 game from July of 1994. It's the CFL record, the pro sports record for most passing yards in a game. And I did a story on the 20th anniversary of that. And what made the story really cool was nobody in the league had even the statistical package from that game. First down, the play-by-play of that game. I had to search all over to find it. The Hall of Fame didn't have it. The Bombers didn't have it. The CFL didn't have it. I actually got it from Mike Kelly, the former Bomber coach, who was the assistant coach, the offensive coordinator when Matt had that big game. And then when I started to do some interviews about that story, Matt was quite open that, all the concussions he had suffered, there were some black spots in his memory, and the only way you could kind of get him to remember the game was to talk about the game and recreate it with the play-by-play with him, and he was really good for that story. But I also interviewed Walby for that story, Alfred Jackson and David Williams, who both broke the Bombers' receiving record in that single game. And they talked about how magical it was. That was one of my favorite stories as a Bomber. But the guys that are on this team now, I've had some really good chats with Brady Oliveira about his road traveled. I did a story a few years ago on Jamarcus Hardrick that I was proud of. Dalton Schoen's story the street dog from his rookie year and where he came from. That's been fun. Again, every guy in that locker room's got a good story. It's up to me to try to get it out of them and write it properly. So, but the Dunnigan one, when you put me on the spot like that, Josh, that's the one that probably jumps out first.
One glorious night. It's the greatest pro quarterback performance ever, but with scant tangible evidence, it's left to fading memories.
There you go. It's on the Free Press.
Put the link in the chat if you want to go see the story it's talking about. The link is in the chat right now. It's from May 4th, 2015, the Winnipeg Free Press. That's pretty cool, Ed. Pretty cool story. Yeah. All right, let's just keep rolling through here. How does Ed feel specifically? This is a tough one because we're in training camp. Rosters aren't completely set yet. But I guess this is a great question. How do you feel about the Bombers stacking up against the Tiger Cats this season, especially with all the players that went over from our team?
Yeah, that's interesting. That matchup when Winnipeg plays Hamilton, either there or here, is going to be really cool because there's just so many people that have left here for there. Not just Ted Gavaya and Cyril Penn, who I mentioned, Kenny Lawler, Drew Wolotarski, Liam Dobson. Who else is there? Taiwan Garbett, Miles Fox, Brian Cole, Owen Hubert, who was on this team last year. I could go on. And so that makes it compelling. I think the Ticats getting Lawler and pairing him with Bo Levi Mitchell is really interesting and it's going to be dangerous for the rest of the league because Bo, he likes to go deep and Kenny is the guy that likes to catch them deep. So that's going to be interesting. But I like what the Bombers have done to kind of counteract the losses of especially of Lawler because, and I've seen it at camp here, I mentioned it off the top, Dylan Mitchell, Jarrett Stearns, and Reggie White Jr. all have experience. They've looked good. Myron Mitchell and Cody Kasem last year have been good. I think there's still the makings of a really good, Carrick Wheatfall, there's still the makings of a really good receiving core here. And then the other factor I didn't mention earlier is that Ontario Wilson, Pokey Wilson's with the New York Jets now, but he's got no promises either. And here's a guy that's going to go to camp with the New York Jets, but if he doesn't make it, what's his next move? Will he stay down south to see if he get an offer, or would he suddenly be available to the Bombers to come back in September? Boy, that would change the complexion of the receiving core too, as a guy that had 1,000 yards in his rookie season.
Next question. Another one from Riley. It's a great question. Do you have a feel-good story you're eyeing in camp right now, like someone who's overcoming odds right now?
Yeah. Feel-good story. There's so many guys I haven't interviewed yet. A lot of the camp has been about, well, like today, I'm writing about Dalton Schoen coming back. We've already done stories on Dylan Mitchell in the winter when he came here. Cam Allen, who I talked to, I don't know if I have a feel-good one yet about someone that's overcoming odds. Kamari Munier-Bailey, the global draft pick from this year, is a guy from Manchester, England. We did a story on him in rookie camp. He's got like 20 siblings or something crazy like that. And he's a former boxer, so he's kind of a cool story. This is when the list is this long, when there's this many guys here, sometimes you just interview a guy to get to know him, and then after he makes the team, you can dive in a little bit more into his life story. And so I'm hoping to do that a little bit more. That's a good question, and check back with me at Labor Day, and I might have a better answer for you.
Let me just take a look here. We're getting near the end of the show. We've kept you talking for a good half an hour here.
Okay.
So I'm just. Oh yeah, we got a couple more. This will be. Everyone, if you have any questions left while we're still here, drop them in the chat. We're working through the last couple here, and then we'll call it a day on the first ever Huddle mini show.
Yeah.
Hopefully none more.
Well, yeah. It was tough. Like I said at the top, Chris Kolonkowski was supposed to join us, but the schedule changes like on a dime here, so he couldn't make it the last minute, and we're just kind of winging this to keep this going for a week instead of going dark.
And thanks everyone for hanging out.
Great.
Question that I can't remember if you touched on. We talked about it earlier, but I can't remember if you touched on the show. This person wants to know how's Dalton looking, getting back out on the field.
Well, yeah, when I'm off here, I'll finish that story that I'm working on. He yesterday was his first day on the practice field, and he ran an out pattern to this one far sideline from me, and he caught a long ball, probably about 40, 45 yards from Zach Collaros. Classic Dalton show and catch. And as he ran to the sideline, Nick Dembski said, "I bet you that feels pretty good, doesn't it, Dalton?" And he just said, "Yeah." And talked to him today again, and he looks good. I mean, this is a guy that before he got hurt was arguably the best receiver in the league. If you look at his numbers, I think he had 26 touchdowns in like 32 games before last year. Difference maker, a guy that Zach relies on so much. He's been, I mean, it's been basically 2 days, and he's looked really good. Mid-season form already.
Nice. This is a great question. Maybe we'll end on this one, and then we'll call our show.
Okay.
But this question is, we've talked about the good stuff, but does Ed have any interview horror stories or any interview surprises that started with a simple question and became a real story that you can talk about live on air?
Well, you always, you do this for a long time. It's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time, right? I've had a few run-ins with guys. When Milt Stiegel was here last year for training camp, remember that thing where he was trying to come back as a 50-some-year-old and try it for one day? One of the biggest blow-ups I've ever had in this business was with Milt one time, and it was just a misunderstanding, but he was screaming at me, and I was trying to stand up for myself. But afterwards, we kind of, hugged it out, and we're cool. But that was one of the biggest blowouts. I've had lots of blowouts that I can't mention their names where, a guy got fired and didn't like the way I wrote about it at the end, or wrote something that somebody thought was off the record, and I said it wasn't. And so this, you're going to have these kind of things. But one of the things I was taught, and I wish more people adhered to this, is that if you take a shot at somebody or if you write something controversial, you got to be at practice the next day so that you can take the flack back from somebody and stand up and take it and be accountable for it, either defend yourself or to apologize for it. So I had to do that a few times too.
That's pretty interesting, especially because like the day of social media, people can tweet whatever they want or Instagram whatever they want, and then there's no consequences. So
no consequences.
That's interesting. Well, thanks for that, Ed. I think that's probably going to wrap up the show, so okay. I'll pass it back to you. But the T-shirt giveaway for the Zach Calera shirt is going to be up for a little bit longer. So if you're hanging out now and didn't see the giveaway, there's a T-shirt giveaway. I'm going to drop that link in chat one more time. Hit that link. Good luck to you. And thanks everybody for hanging out.
Yeah, so again, we had to roll with the punches a bit today. Chris Kolinkowski was going to join us, and again, meetings changed, and he couldn't. We're going to try to do next week. There's no guarantees now with the meetings getting changed all the time. The Bombers play Saturday at home against Saskatchewan, and then Saskatchewan again in Regina the following Friday. So we're starting to get some pictures about this team this week, and Saturday is going to give us a lot more answers. I appreciate everybody for joining in. Thanks for all the questions. Appreciate you rolling with us here. Thanks to Coors Light for being our sponsor. Duron Equipment, too. Thanks for the store upstairs for giving us this T-shirt to give away. Appreciate all your questions, and we will see you next Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Hopefully there's somebody sitting in that chair so I don't have to babble as much. Thanks very much.